N Talk Podcast with your host, Ms.Londa. Sip and Talk Podcast. Sip and Talk Podcast. Sip and Talk Podcast. Starting soon.
You want?
Oh wow, I was doing all that talking, and give me a second, you guys. I don't think there's okay, so I'm back again. All right, so as I was saying, today we are going to be discussing the situation that has taken place here in Minnesota, where men have been displaced from a halfway house called Better Future. Now, joining us this evening is going to be Marvina Haynes. She is the sister of Marvin Haynes, who has been wrongfully convicted at the age of 16. She's also the founder of Minnesota Wrongfully Convicted Judicial Reform System. Now, these men were not given any notice other than 24 hours that they had to vacate. They have not violated any of their parole conditions, nor did they violate any of the rules of the halfway house. All right, and here's Marvina now. All right. So
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that.
All right, that's okay. So I just gave a brief rundown of what's going on to the viewers.
Okay.
I'm gonna step
Okay.
off. I'll be right back.
All right, so what is there any updates as far as like speaking with the people like Hennepin County, you know, the people who are in charge of this halfway house, and what are they trying to do? Are they trying to do anything?
We have heard that
So far, Ramsey County, I guess they ended some type of contract with Better Futures as well, so that they have to leave. As far as like any support, a lot of guys have been calling us and saying that they don't know what they're gonna do. So apparently, no.
yeah. So what actually had happened was I received a call October 5th at 10 o'clock that said that 40 or more guys were going to be displaced due to their probation officer orders. And they only were given 24-hour notice. And they didn't know what they were going to do. So I pulled together a team of organizers, and we were able to offer them temporarily housing, legal advice, and also new jobs.
Okay. And so a lot of the men are still though without housing though, correct? And
Yes.
Yes.
you guys are still looking for resources to
Yes.
help. Okay. And so for those of you watching, there has been a GoFundMe started. And this is the link right here. If anybody would like to donate to try to help, or even if you know any resources or any connections out here to help these men with housing so that they won't have to face going back to prison, because it wouldn't be fair to send them back to prison when they haven't violated any of the terms of their parole or they never violated any of the rules of the halfway house as well. So this is the link right here on the screen, and I'll show it again at the end.
Yeah. And so when the Hennepin County told these guys that they only had 24 hours or they'll go to they'll have to leave or they'll end up going back to jail, that really hurt our community. These guys has been law-abiding citizens since they got out. They were so the way Better Futures work is that they have phases. And a lot of these guys were on phase 3 and 4 and were working jobs. They had their own apartments, studios, and 1 bedrooms, right?
Yeah.
Studios and 1 bedrooms. And so now we have them placed in temporarily housing where they're sharing units. But what we do have a list of demands that we are asking from Hennepin County.
And what are those demands? Don't mind reading on.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Here you go.
A lot of guys suffered mental trauma, so mental health treatment.
One.
A lot of guys, they're gonna need standard housing, above standard housing, because right now they're living in below standard housing. Their deposits is back because a lot of guys haven't received their deposits or anything or know anything about their deposits, like what's going on with that, and any other resources that can be provided. I mean, gas. People are being forced to live with their families. You know, people's families are impacted by it as well because not everybody can stay with their families. You know what I mean? There's rooming issues and things like that. So, it's crazy.
Yeah. You guys have been inconvenienced, in a bad way, in a terrible way.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, and then we're also asking that they change their policies to give a reasonable notice when closing a facility.
So they just.
So this is government ran, right?
Yes, and all of these guys were government funded.
And so I'm not understanding why the government is not being responsible to, even if the place was closed, and I feel like it should have been on them to make sure that they were put somewhere else because it's not their fault.
Yes, or even if they knew they were going to close, they should have came into some agreement with Better Futures to return their deposit back immediately. Gave them situations where they had equal housing. They knew that they were going to be losing their job because Better Future employs most of these guys and they pay them under minimum wage. They only were getting paid $13.50 an hour. Help them apply for unemployment payments because they did lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Provide mental health services to these guys because they just had their whole life ripped from up under their feet when they have done nothing to deserve this. We want them to provide emergency assistance to help these affected guys, to help them pay for the sudden cost of moving. And then the demand of changing their policies. We want them to have to give the formerly incarcerated man proper notice so they can have a vision ways that they can put their life together. These guys didn't commit any crimes for this to happen to them. So I'm not sure on why the DOC or Better Futures aren't taking responsibility, and why they are steady continuing to hurt our community.
And so Marvina, let me ask you, because you sent me 2 letters. So you sent those letters to Hennepin County, correct?
Well, we're working on those are the letters that's going to be sent out to Hennepin County. Okay. We're just going public with our demands first. So there won't be any miscommunication with the things that these guys need.
They didn't have any reason to why they did this. They just did it in the middle of the night.
Well, from the DOC, they're saying a breach of contract with Better Futures, and Better Futures is saying the DOC made the call. So none of the guys have been formally informed on anything besides that they had to be out in 24 hours or they'll return to prison.
Yeah, there's no information. There's no real concrete. There's no concrete information about what's really going on. So it's all speculation and rumors. So we really don't know.
And some of these dudes, they don't got like families and just people that they know that they can go to. Some of these people are just really out here right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we got a call. I got a call from one guy at 3:50 in the morning, and he was having a really hard time finding a place. He had went by his baby mom house, and that wasn't the best place for him. He had been out of prison for, I think it was 30 to 60 days. He had started visiting his children and just preparing himself for life. And so they put him back in a bad situation. He called at 3 a.m. and it was a lot of chaos. He was like mentally disturbed at that time because he had nowhere to go. And he was just like, fuck Better Futures. They did this to me.
Right. And is it like predominantly people of color? I mean,
yes.
Because I'm sure it's some white people or some different races there, but it's predominantly black, huh?
Yes. Actually, it's a black. The organization was the motto is for young black men or men of color who just got out of prison.
And I'm guessing that the owners are probably white, or am I wrong?
No.
Now, when it comes to those situations, a lot of times color doesn't really play a part in it. What plays a part in it is people that want to have these organizations and they get this money and they're not putting it where they're saying they're supposed to be putting it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and that's what's happening. And this is probably why they were forced out, because they probably haven't paid these people for this place that these people were living in. This was probably funded through a nonprofit, if I'm not mistaken.
So essentially, we just playing with people's lives at this point for our own benefit.
All of the formerly incarcerated guys, their rent was paid up. They have receipts. Some of them even have like ledgers that say that they owed it money when they're not sure on how, because they were funded by the government. So we're not really sure on what's going on in that organization. All I know as an organizer is that they hurt our community.
Yeah, that seems like pretty much the goals, especially as of lately, man, is to hurt our community, man. This is a pretty sad situation, man. This is really,
yeah, it is. It's messed up.
Have to wake up and leave in the middle of the night. So how long are you guys going to be protesting?
Until we get our demands met. So right now, because this happened to not only the formerly incarcerated men, but they also evicted a lot of the camps at the same time. So the city of Hennepin County displaced over 200 to 300 people all on the same day. So what we have here is we're going to set up in tents from 8 tonight until 8 in the morning.
That's dope.
So if anyone can bring out any resources, any tents, any blankets, hot chocolate,
right,
water, anything like that.
What about if you guys need sandwiches or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, jackets, anything that you guys have, we could take it right over here. We're on the back side of the city hall is where you can locate us. The green top in between the trains.
I seen that the news did cover this, but are they like literally down there covering it live, or are they just covered it over the station?
I think that they covered it on I think they'll probably be back. I'm not actually sure. We never know what the media is gonna do.
Right, the media really don't
Yeah.
promote things like this.
Yeah, and there is some people here from the camps if you'll like to speak with them and find out a little about why this is happening to them and what plans they have. So and ways of supporting them.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Hey, are you still available to speak? They want to know about what exactly took place with the camps and is there any ways to support you guys and stuff like that?
The city is being incredibly brutal right now with destroying people's homes. They're coming in and at the point of an AR-15, telling you have 5 minutes to collect what you can. You can't take your tent or your shelter of any kind out here in Minnesota, where the weather isn't always friendly. They give you no resources or support. If there were housing, do you think people want to live in a tent in the middle of a Minnesota winter? It's nobody would want to do that if they had appropriate housing or affordable housing or somewhere that they could be. And it's very hard once you become homeless to become housed again, to get back into that society. They've made it elite to be poor in the city.
Yes.
And so almost all of us out here who are unhoused, a lot of us have homes. They might be tents, but there are homes. And these people are our families that we choose to live with. But they've decided to make it a criminal offense basically to be poor. So all the things you need to do to support yourself to survive right now in the city become criminal acts. You can't sleep on a park bench. You can't. We had someone from our encampment that was arrested for jaywalking. When was the last time you ever heard of someone being arrested for jaywalking? It's ridiculous. Yeah. And they're not giving anyone a path toward support and housing. They say that they have all this support that comes out to the encampments. I will tell you, I've been at the quarry. We were there every day for over a year and saw them maybe every couple of months. And people have so many issues with keeping the phone charged or having data, all those kinds of things. How are you supposed to connect with them unless you come out to see them? And they don't.
So are the shelters full?
I'm sorry?
Are the shelters full?
Yeah.
So the shelters are mostly full.
Yes, absolutely, they're full.
Every day there are a couple of slots open. But the thing to remember too is that these are mostly nighttime slots. So at 9:30 at night, if you're a man, you can call the shelter and see if you can get a spot. And then you have to be gone in the morning, early morning. So all day long.
Sober enough in order to get into the shelter, you have to be able to blow a blood alcohol content below a certain level. You definitely can't have any sort of like anything that you might need to use if you're like a hardcore, like if you're a person who's suffering addiction or things like that. Those are things that are going to prohibit you from being able to gain access from those spaces. And we all know that an alcoholic or someone who's addicted to opioids can't stop on a dime. And if they do, it could actually literally kill them and cause them to seize out. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, so that we don't have reasonable expectation of being housed. If you get a shelter for one night, that's one night. You can't take with you all the things you've accumulated out here to survive, to be, sheltered from the elements, to have food support. We have mutual aid groups that try to provide meals a couple times a week or bring items so that people can cook at the encampments. You lose all of that when you go to the shelter and you lose your spot out there. So we've created these encampment communities that are true communities where people support each other. We feel safe leaving. Like when Mike and I are alone and we're finding a spot out by the river, we can't leave that spot without taking everything with us because it won't be there when we get back.
Because no one's got your back.
Exactly. So we create these communities where we are much more safe and more supported. And that was
White leftists, for instance, will talk about things like mutual aid or whatever. I would argue that mutual aid equals fam take care of fam, homie. There's no one out here but us, so we have to take care of us because who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's really what like a lot of these encampment spaces are all about. You have people who are suffering like extreme mental illness and delusions and psychosis and things of that nature, unmedicated schizophrenia, and the rest of the world's afraid of them. No one wants to take care of these people or whatever, but the encampments, we take care of them. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Have you eaten today? You need some water? Like, how them socks looking right now? You need a little care or whatever? Like, what's going on? Like, why don't you come over and hang out with us for a little while? You know what I mean? And like actually these camps are taking on work that and no one else is willing to take on or do, to care for the most vulnerable, oppressed, and not everyone suffering schizophrenia is using or anything like that. You know what I mean? Some people just have illnesses from which they'll never be able to recover. And we're the ones out here taking care of them in many cases and don't get the credit for that. We're just called addicts and bums and trash and, you know, this and that and the other. I guess I would just point that out or whatever, is that like it's this, the first mutual aid worker you meet on the street is almost always a fellow unhoused individual. It's almost always someone else from the street. Like I just met someone just out here today at this action that like I had seen out in St. Paul or whatever. We tossed them a couple bottles of water when we passed by or whatever. And we were talking, we traded numbers, like they want to get involved and like start organizing too. Actually though, there's a growing number of us that are gaining like political awareness and political consciousness, teaching ourselves and teaching other people and educating them and networking amongst ourselves, not just here on a citywide or, you know, with St. Paul as well and stuff like that, because it's really all just one big city, but also with other cities from the West Coast, you know, PDX, Philly, Seattle, LA, et cetera, et cetera. It's New York, you know what I mean? Like, et cetera, Chicago, and all these different things or whatever, and building like true solidarity networks. Like when I needed first aid kits, like real first aid kits, there was a group called DC Remora House. They'd never met me before in my life. And they were just like, hey, we can help you fund this. They got me like 3 IFAK kits, which are suitable for treating gunshot or knife wounds, like heavy trauma wounds or stuff like that. And they fundraised the money within 24 hours. They'd never even met me before. So like it's really like the streets are looking out for the streets. And
Nobody else is
well,
gonna.
why though? Why would we pay taxes if it's just us helping us?
Yeah. So let me ask you, because I know that Mary Jo, so are you able to go there and get like tents and sleeping bags and stuff? And I do know like she did used to allow people to kind of sleep out there. Are you still able to do that and go there and eat during the day? I do know of a church that's in North Minneapolis that serves Monday through Friday from, I believe it's 5:30 to 6:30. It's called Loaves and Fishes. So I do know that you can probably go there and get a meal.
And there are good resources like that out there, but if you think about being homeless and the fact that if you want a drink of water or to wash your hands or brush your teeth, you have to source water. You have to find a way to, in the winter, thaw it. You know, you have to find a way to get it. And you don't have all those resources. So going to a new community to find one meal is very difficult. Or right now, food shelves generally only let you shop every 2 weeks. So you get resources every 2 weeks, but you don't have refrigeration, you don't have storage. You have to carry everything with you on your back. So canned goods are too heavy to carry with you. So there's a lot of great resources, but they're not really helpful to the people who are unhoused. And that's what we're trying to let the city know, is that they need to talk to people who are unhoused and figure out what actually supports us, what we need, because they decide what we need, although they've never had our experiences.
I would echo that sentiment or whatever, is that like typically a lot of the resources that are available, whether from the city, whether from 501c3 orgs, whether from religious related orgs, regardless of denomination, whether Christian or Muslim or Jewish. And there's other religious orgs and stuff that get involved as well. But that oftentimes it's people who don't have lived experience on the streets dealing with these things and situations and psychological fears and things that we face. And sometimes actually can impose attitudes and microaggressions, I guess I would say, that are even harmful or whatever, you know, and like typically microaggressions are oftentimes unintentional, but they still cause harm to people. You know what I mean?
We're at a point right now where the city has no encampment policy, which means that they're basically able to do whatever they want to do, you know, city encampments. And we had an abolitionist city council that was really had our backs, that showed up at evictions to stop the bulldozer. Now that's changed with the last election, and I'm sure it'll change again with this one. And it's been very difficult to maintain that kind of support. And now they've moved from having Health and Human Services, which is people-oriented, decide about the encampment evictions, to regulatory services, which is all about the money. That's all about who owns that land, and how they can sell it, and how they can use it to gain resources or money for the city or for different corporations, what have you. And so they completely moved away from actually looking at human beings.
Human
And we-
beings are not to be regulated.
Yes.
Human
that's right.
beings are not to be regulated.
This is crazy.
We've even seen like at our encampment, the garbage trucks, we would come 3 days a week and they started coming 2 days a week. So we talked to the city about it and found out they were supposed to be coming 5 days a week. We would watch them come into the parking lot and then leave without picking up the garbage. And then the neighbors complain that there's so much trash. Yeah. It's like, that's planned. Yeah.
So
They're
let
doing
me
that.
ask you, the camp that you were staying at, was that government funded or was that through the government?
The government does not
The
fund
government doesn't
anything.
fund any of this stuff. No, like it's the people serving the people. And when I say the people, I mean just everyday people. There's not 501c3s making this stuff happen.
Mhm.
It's a hodgepodge network of community members like making it happen. Some might even say anarchy.
Yeah, we actually found the land for the quarry on our own and started an encampment there, you know, because
And soon,
Nobody
wherever you
was
guys
stopping.
find land at, then they target that land because they don't even notice that it's sitting there. It has been sitting for so long.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the part for me.
Yep, and nobody would use that.
No one used it. As soon as you guys go, they like want to build gold on it.
Then they can't even build on the land we're on. Like, it's a little weird triangle next to the freaking freeway.
I mean, we saw this happen back in 2020, 21. Like even just on Lake Street, there was a community garden that was built on Lake Street that was near like some sort of Salvation Army place or whatever. People were showing community films in the park and it was a beautiful area where like all this gardening was happening and stuff like that. So of course they decided that they wanted to develop it all of a sudden. You know, and it's like really the community did something cool with this and like made a gathering spot. It was peaceful. You know what I mean? You could hear people like hustling and stuff and screaming in the background or whatever. They're selling drugs just like a block up the street or whatever. But we're chilling there, peaceful, watching movies, sharing food, sharing water with each other, sharing resources, holding space. And then, of course, like now it's a development because they just can't stand it when people start doing things for themselves. The government hates competition. The government hates competition. As a matter of fact, the WIC program, you know what I mean? Like the taking care of like people who are pregnant and their children and stuff like that and making sure that they receive proper nutrition. That actually was a response to the Black Panthers who pioneered that to make sure that people who didn't have the education they needed to know how to care for their children would have children that were nutritionally cared for in proper ways. And the government hates competition, so they co-opted that. They recuperated it and they made it their own. You know what I mean? Like the WIC program came from the Black Panthers, for real.
Us taking care of us.
Bam,
That's
take care,
right.
bam.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to ask them, Yolanda?
Well, I've asked pretty much about all the resources. So if I think of some more, I can let Marvina know.
I just put a list. I just put a
Days
list
that
right
people
there if you want to put it up.
like to donate. I'm gonna ask if there's ways that we can find them if anyone wants to donate, or if we have blankets or coats or anything. I don't know if you can take up fundraisers like used coats or anything for them, Yolanda, based off of your page.
Yes, I can do that. I can do that.
There are two specific things that help out
If I
tremendously.
wanted to do that, where would I?
The action that we had tonight, there's a Facebook page and all that, and the organization, the Supply Depot. Many of us wouldn't even be alive without those folks, and they're just people who show up, you know, and they raise funds and they get heaters and propane so we don't freeze to death in the winter. They get us tents so we're not wet and cold out here at night. They, you know, provide so many resources that we need every day.
The community kitchens or whatever that are out providing meals and stuff like that.
Community kitchen, make sure we have hot meals, you know, and that's amazing. It really is.
And I mean, even with that, the government tries to get officious over it, talking about, do you have a license for this? Do you have a permit? Do you have a blah, blah, blah? What is this kitchen looking like? This, that, and the other and stuff, just to like, you know, cook up some chicken and stuff and some spaghetti and some vegetables and like cook it up for people and stuff. Like I've worked with people just like in someone's house, just like cooking and like just making a bunch of chicken or like a bunch of mac and cheese, a bunch of like, you know, greens and stuff, and just like hitting encampments with like hot food all packaged up like, hey, here you go. We didn't have a permit for it. We just went out and did it because it needed to get done, because who else is doing it? Like, you know, like while the government's acting officious over everything, like nothing gets done.
Even with COVID, when everything shut down and all the places that people who were homeless went to go to the bathroom or went to walk up were all closed down, you couldn't get in anywhere. It was people who saw that need, who paid for porta potties to be brought in so that they had some kind of sanitation and expectation of having health, you know, and that is amazing that they would do that. And then finally, we were able to get the city to take those over because they weren't providing for their citizens who are, you know, I'm a lifelong person. I've lived in Minneapolis my whole life. I've been a community activist. I've worked here. I've paid taxes. I've done all those things that they expect of you. But when I need help, they won't care for me. I've been on a housing list for over a year, and I have no housing.
Are you guys open to sandwiches? I mean, I can make a bunch of sandwiches and bring some waters out. If you guys are
Right.
Food is always good. Food is love.
So are you guys gonna be here tonight?
I have to leave. I have to go to I have a lawyer appointment at 8 a.m. tomorrow, whatever. That's ultra urgent relating to the case with the sweeps from 2020, actually, with the ACLU lawsuit.
Yeah.
So like I gotta get up super early.
So you have a number that you can share?
I sure can. 612-946-23.
946?
I'll be here all day.
And your-
My name's Melanie
That
Rose,
946?
and my number, Melanie,
That was
and my
946?
number. Yep, 2397. And we'll be here all day tomorrow, taking donations of any kind for people who are unhoused to be distributed through Supply Depot and some of the other folks out here helping to support us.
Okay, and then he's gonna give his name and number.
Okay, so my name's Charm at CHARM. My phone number is 612-735-5191. And there's people in my community directly that I see every day that need coats. I see people sleeping outside without any sort of shelter or anything at all. And my specific area where I'm residing right now needs immediate resources. Like I could see the cracks in the bubble out there. Like it's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You see people just sleeping outside. You see people at the bus benches and stuff like that, changing their clothes and just not even having the basic things and stuff like that, which again, it's why these encampment lives are so important or whatever. Since when you're hooked up with the camp, you get the things you need. The people who are not hooked up with camps and stuff like that are suffering even worse than those in the camps. Period. But it was good to talk with you. I'm sorry I jumped in at the last minute.
Oh,
Hi.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna try to help as much as possible. I know that I have a bunch of blankets and comforters around here. I will throw them in the wash, dry them up. I will try to make sandwiches, and I will try to donate as much as I can possibly donate.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hopefully someday we can.
Solidarity forever.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Okay, Miss Yolanda. So
So Marvina, I'm gonna connect with you on that.
okay.
I'm gonna go out to the store and I'm gonna try to buy a bunch of bread and a bunch of lunch meat, some waters, and like I said, I have some blankets and stuff. I actually have to go through my trunk because I did a giveaway last year with hygiene stuff, and I still have some of that stuff. So whatever I have around here, I'm willing to donate it.
Okay. Okay.
So I will connect with you on that.
Okay. That sounds good, Miss Yolanda. And thank you so much for all of your help.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
All right, you guys, this is really sad on so many levels. I hope that people are watching, even if you just have old blankets or old coats that you know is just laying around, you're not gonna do nothing with. We'd love to take them and give them to them. You can make a couple of sandwiches if that's possible. Any way that you guys can help. There's also a GoFundMe if you're willing to donate to the GoFundMe. I will bring that back up. All right. So, Boom, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to share on this? If you guys can share this, please share the live so that it's getting out there to a lot of different people so people can see this. Even if you guys can share it into some of the groups that, like the Minnesota Blessings group, those type of groups, that would be good too.
Yeah, that's a sad situation, man. That's all I can really say. I wish I could help a little bit more. Not being close to that city, I can't really do too much but share. But yeah, that's a messed up situation for those people.
Yeah, it is very messed up. Oh Lord. All right, so the other topic was it was about a guy that he was incarcerated, but he went missing. Let me pull that up. Let me send it to you. Here it is. Sending it to you now. Boom. There it goes. Did you get it?
Yeah, yeah, I got it.
I need to put my glasses on. Oh my God, these words are so small. Thank you. All right, so this one is a situation where in Jackson, I don't know if this is Jackson, Mississippi, the East Feliciana Parish Sheriff's Office reported an inmate who had walked out of his assigned work release location in September was found dead in Jackson Cemetery 2 weeks later. On September 19th, the West Feliciana Parish Sheriff's Office was notified of a work release inmate, Matthew Walker, who had walked off from a gas station in Jackson. The Sheriff's Office contacted the EFPSO, and both departments searched for Walker for 2 weeks. Sunday, EFPSO was told a body had been seen hanging in a tree in Jackson Cemetery, which is believed to be Walker. The Jackson Police Department requested, let me see, can I scroll this up? Or maybe I should take this. Matthew Walker, who had walked from gas station, Sunday, which is believed to be Walker, the Jackson Police Department requested EFPSO investigate. The investigation remains ongoing according to the EFPSO, and further information is pending identification and an autopsy per East Feliciana coroner. Now, that sounds strangely odd to me that he was found hanging in a tree.
Yeah, that's different right there. Let's see, where is this?
Thank you, Michael. I would appreciate that. And I will get the information to I just had the GoFundMe up. I will share that with you personally, and then you can share it with your friends as well. Yeah, I find that strangely odd that, he was just found just hung in a tree. Like, why would so he hung himself in a tree is the question.
Well, it's in Louisiana, so it's one of them southern states, number one.
So is that where Jackson is in Louisiana, not Mississippi?
Well, let's see, because it could be just a whole nother. Let's see, I'm gonna do WBRZ. Let's say that's located in Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah, that's Louisiana.
So I would guess this is in Baton Rouge. I mean, this is in Louisiana, Jackson, Louisiana. Is there a Jackson, Louisiana? Let's see.
Yeah, that Baton Rouge is Louisiana. It's a city in Louisiana.
No, I'm saying Jackson. This is saying it was in Jackson.
Oh yeah. Jackson is in She says Jackson is in, I think, Mississippi.
Oh, there's one in Louisiana also. Yeah, right here. Jackson is a town in East Feliciana Parish, Louisiana, where the situation happened. So there is a Jackson, Louisiana. Um, because it also says East Feliciana Parish Sheriff, so it was in Louisiana. Jackson, a lot of these states have certain cities, like for instance, there's a Columbus, Georgia, but a lot of times when people say Columbus, they think Ohio because it's the capital. But yeah, this right here is definitely Jackson, Louisiana. Um, yeah, Jackson, Mississippi. Mississippi going through it right now. Shout out to them people in Mississippi as well. But this definitely happened in Louisiana. This happened in Jackson, Louisiana, which is still a southern state. We all know racism still live on. And I'm gonna take it there. Me being pro-black, I'm gonna take it there. So I'm sure this was some type of racism uh, situation going on for him to be hung. You know what I'm saying? I would
Yeah.
more or less say if it was black on black, we might be able to say, well, another black man killed him or a black person killed him. But that's just black people. I don't think we doing too much hanging. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that's something that we gonna just hang somebody up. I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying that we wouldn't, but
Right.
this more sound like a different situation. I mean, he's seen hanging in the tree in the Jackson Cemetery. You know what I'm saying? So could have been the officers that did it. Once they caught him, could have just been some racist white person who did it.
Or
Once,
did he really walk out?
did he really walk out? Maybe he killed himself. What I'm saying? What grave was he found by? Did he want to just die next to a family member? It's all kinds of ways you can look at it, but coming from my eyes until I know the actual full truth, I'm definitely going with racism. All white people ain't racist. Shout out to my cool white people, but um, yeah, this is definitely different as far as he walked out of a signed work location and then found dead in the cemetery 2 weeks later. Nobody like made any calls to say I seen this guy. Was he really hiding? Maybe he went out to one of those farms because the country. That's probably a country city. It's a small town for sure, so it's probably very country. Did he find some people where he thought he was good to hide? Um, who knows? Is this man even? Let's see if we can even look up this man before I even call it racism. First off, because I don't even know if this man is black or
I
white.
was just gonna say, yeah, I was gonna ask that. So I just put the link to the GoFundMe in the comments. And I understand if people don't want to or don't have it to donate, but please do not inbox me and tell me that you're not going to. You don't have to say it, just don't do it. Please don't do that.
So they called it a possible inmate suicide. Still not showing his face. Possible inmate suicide after a man believed to escape. Inmate was found dead in Jackson over the weekend. Then they said the same thing that you basically just read off. Reportedly tried to help find Walker after being notified by the parish sheriff office about his escape. Found the body hanging on the tree Sunday, October 2nd, in a cemetery across from the Civic Center in Jackson. According to the office, deputies believe the body is one of the escaped inmates, Walker, and his manner of death was suicide. However, the coroner will need to officially identify the body and determine the official cause and the manner of death. The investigation is still ongoing. So this just happened 7 days ago. So doesn't look like they put any bit more information out for him. Let's see if I can find an image of this man.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like suicide to me either. It sounds like foul play to me. Because I mean, for one, Well, it would depend on how high the tree is, number one, and being an inmate. And if he supposedly walked out on work release, where did he get the materials to hang himself, and how tall was the tree?
I mean, you can hang yourself with a shoestring.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, but would a shoestring actually hold your body weight though? Depending on like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you'd have to be pretty small to hang yourself with a shoestring. Now I can see you strangling yourself with a shoestring, but actually hanging yourself with a shoestring.
Well, we can definitely remove racism out the picture because let me put this over here because I switched it up. We could definitely take racism out the picture because I found a picture of him. He's definitely a white man. So I can't say racism anymore. So it definitely could be suicide at this point. I mean, unless he got into it with somebody that had a problem with it and decided to hang him, or unless he did something to one of the police officers where they felt like he needed to be hung.
What was he locked up for?
That's a good question as well. Let's see. For a month in the federal prison for his scheme to extort numerous minors over the internet for the purpose of producing and receiving child pornography.
That raises a red flag.
That definitely raises a red flag. Now I don't even know if I have any sympathy for a person.
Well, we can't take murder into our own hands, but that definitely raises a red flag.
For sure. For sure. So this is definitely the man right here. This is 20 years. He probably did try and run off. Somebody probably knew who he was, or it just could have been the police. So some of these police officers, man, they don't really even though they go by law and they supposed to be law abiding, some of these police officers do things that they feel the judge didn't do. So, you get these prison guards who let other people come into other people's rooms and beat on them and act like they didn't see it, turn their backs, you know what I'm saying? So who knows, man, if he really did get out. Maybe, because it could have been one of the officers whose child was one of the victims.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And like, let that man free right quick. I got something for him. Who knows? But now at this point, I ain't got no sympathy. I ain't got no sympathy for nobody who do anything to no child, man. I ain't got no sympathy for that. So maybe he got, from what it's saying, he was sentenced to 20 years for this. So obviously it's some truth to it. So it ain't no allegations. It's not that he was waiting to be sentenced or anything. He already got sentenced for it. So obviously they have proof of it. So he's not innocent.
But he had already been locked up for a while though, because to do work release, that means you're kind of on your way out though, correct?
It does, because you ain't gonna just go in there and get it instantly. But he was 29 years old, so of course it had to be within the last 5 to 10 years. He could have been 18 when he went in and done. Well, he's 29, so he could have been 19 when he went in and did 10 years. He could have been 18 when he went in and did 11. That would be the only way that I would see that. Because after about 4 or 5 years of you being somewhere, I'm guessing they start giving you like work release and things like that. I'm sure that it wasn't officially work release as much as it probably was like working during prison, maybe like some type of community service type where they go out and work on the side of the streets and pick up trash and all that on the side expressway type shit.
Yeah.
And they get paid like $1 an hour or 20 cents an hour or some shit like that. I'm sure it was something like that. It was. I don't think it was no. I don't know because that Jeffrey Dahmer situation, he definitely got to go. But that was before they charged him with his situation. He was on work release where he did like a year in jail, but he got to go do his 8 hours at work and then go back to jail. I know it wasn't nothing like that. And his situation was supposed to be like indecent exposure or some shit, but this dude right here, though, man, they caught him up with some child pornography and all that. I don't know if they would let him go to work for 8 hours unless it was like being supervised, you know?
Yeah.
So who knows how he got.
They're changing the laws on all of that, so we can never say.
Yeah, that's different.
You know?
At first, I tried to play racism, but that's not the case. Unless it was some black man who caught him, because we can be racist as well. So maybe it could have been a black man who caught him, like, yeah, caught your ass. But he probably did go ahead and go out on his own, man. I mean, a lot of times when people do that, it was just I just watched something on TikTok, where dude.
Yeah, it is a broken justice system. It's very broken.
I just watched something on TikTok where dude had got his girlfriend's 14-year-old daughter pregnant. He had been raping her a series of times. She came home. He was walking through the house with a gun, talking about he didn't deserve to live, this, that, and the other. They ended up calling the police. And come to find out, the little girl was pregnant. And so he was on the verge of killing himself for doing something like that. So who knows what this man's mind could have been going through. He could have been on the same situation, you know, like, shit, I done did some bullshit, and I'm ready to give up on life for what I've done.
Yeah. Well, I would like to thank everybody who joined in. Thank you, Boom. You guys, until the next time, you guys have a good night.
Good night.